Continuing with metta and the four divine abodes, patience seems integral to our focus on the Brahmaviharas. How can we cultivate love, compassion, appreciative joy, or equanimity without it? When we practice with patience, our metta has more space, both in everyday life as well as in our formal meditation. So, patience is an ordinary word. We know it in ordinary life. When I was young, I remember seeing a plaque on my grandmother's wall. Mind you, this was in the 1970s, so it is dated in the cultural context of the day. The plaque said, "Patience is a virtue. Find it if you can. Seldom seen in women, never found in man." So, this saying was probably even seen as a feminist statement at the time. The upshot was patience is important, and if you have some, it's a good thing, and it's hard to come by, but it's precious. Also, being the elder daughter in a large family, I was supposed to be patient. It was more of a demand and something I had to model for my siblings. Often my takeaway was be good, don't add to the chaos, and whenever you can, use your patience to calm everyone down. When I was raising my kids, there were five of us under one roof, I tended to have the best sense of time. My partner often said that time was not her friend, so timekeeping was my job. The problem was on a busy morning when we all needed to get off to school and work, no one went as fast as I wanted them to. Rushing and hurrying just seemed normal to me to get out of the house on time. I found I would get frustrated and I wasn't my best self during these moments. It did occur to me that I did not want my impatience to be the last thing my kids heard from me before they went away to school all day. My solution was to go into the car when everything was all ready, and as I went out of the house, I would say, "Okay, everyone, I'll be in the car." That was my mantra. I actually still do it. I'll be in the car. It was kind of perfect. I could get everything ready that I needed to for myself and the others. And then, instead of nagging and becoming grumpy, I would give them my line, "I'll be in the car," and go start the car, have a few moments alone, and then they would all dribble in. This wasn't a mindful move, but in hindsight, I was practicing patience. It changed the way I felt towards everyone, while also helping me to separate myself from the anxiety I was feeling around the potential to be late and rushing. Pema Chodron says, patience means allowing things to unfold at their own speed rather than jumping in with your habitual response to either pain or pleasure. My habit was to speed everyone along, inevitably adding to everyone's stress. "I'll be in the car" allowed me to let the morning unfold. One of my teachers calls patience our spiritual superpower. It actually can be that powerful. Buddhist practice teaches three aspects of patience: gentle forbearance or gentle restraint, calm endurance of suffering, and the acceptance of truth. Gentle forbearance helps us to restrain ourselves long enough to determine the most skillful action in the moment. We are using our wisdom to help us be the person we actually want to be in that moment. I think of it as doing no harm. Even though the impulse may be there to act on our impatience, we remember what has been developed in our mindfulness practice and respond with ease and respect. When we have the impulse to judge ourselves harshly for a mistake we made, we can have patience for that impulse. This past week, I was clearing the icy snow off the top of my parents' minivan. I found myself using force and impatience because I wanted the task to be done and it was cold. But actually, when I remembered patience, through the beauty of knowing I would be talking to all of you about this, I actually let up in my rushing through the task and just let chopping and clearing the ice take as long as it was going to take, not forcing, just allowing. It was so much more pleasant, and it took the same amount of time without the pain of impatience. So even though our impatience is triggered, we feel the wisdom, and this reminds us to accept the way it is right now without adding more stress. The wisdom of tender acceptance helps us notice the mental torment and then notice it passing away. Michelle McDonald, an important teacher of mine, says impatient thoughts come and go by themselves, just as the breath comes in and goes out by itself. If we want life to be different than it is, we are caught in impatience. Inner love and compassion happens when we bring awareness to the cause of our impatience. In my case, wanting to finish my task as fast as possible and be out of the cold. The impatience was actually extending my suffering and adding a dose of miserableness to the task that actually did not need to be there. The second aspect of patience is the ability to endure hardship calmly. But endurance of suffering doesn't mean doing nothing to alleviate it. Patience isn't passive. It's motivated by compassion for suffering rather than a desire to end it. Again, Michelle McDonald asks, what would being patient mean right now? How would our experience be different if we were not rushing or anticipating the next moment? The more we practice patience, the more time we have. What does it mean to relax into our lives with the joys and sorrows? Can we let go of the need to know what's going to happen next? After all, we don't know what is happening next. I remind myself that what drew me to mindfulness practice was the fact that I felt like I was just doing my life, not living my life. The doing had a life of its own. I remember talking to a wise supervisor of mine when my first child was about 2 years old. I had this recurring fear of him running out into the street in front of a car and found myself gripping his little hand so tight when we were at a crosswalk. Crossing the street was a stressful event, and the supervisor said to me, "Your stress is causing you to miss him being 2 years old. You don't want to miss that." It was a simple message, but it worked like magic. What would being patient mean right now? Patient awareness helped me have some ease for my fears and anxiety so that I could come into the present moment. I was not going to miss 2 years old, so my grip loosened. The third aspect of patience is accepting our experience as it is, with all its suffering, rather than how we want it to be. It's accepting the truth of it. Our experience is always changing. Acceptance of things as they are requires profound wisdom and compassion. So over time, with practice, we develop a long, enduring mind that will help us understand time from a radically new perspective. We gain the strength to be present for the long haul, and we're less likely to get caught in being overly insistent and frustrated. Patience is the path that moves us from resistance to acceptance. When we hold tightly to our judgments about ourselves and others, we have impatience. Perhaps we say ease on the in breath and ease on the out breath. Maybe we say, may I be peaceful with whatever is happening. Patience allows peace when we limit our longing for life to be different than it is. We may find we actually have all the time in the world. And so I'm going to end with a poem. It's by Daniel Mead. And he says, if you would grow to be your best self, be patient, not demanding, accepting, not condemning, nurturing, not withholding, self-marveling, not belittling, gently guiding, not pushing and punishing. For you are more sensitive than you know. Humankind is as tough as war, yet delicate as flowers. We can endure agonies, but we open fully only to warmth and light. And our need to grow is as fragile as a fragrance dispersed by storms of will to return only when those storms are still. So accept, respect, and attend your sensitivity. A flower cannot be opened with a hammer. So thank you for your kind attention.